Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We've been given Sophie AI this week on Gran Turismo 7, so we're going to look into all these different races that we've got available to us. Top right hand corner, you've got a limited time to do this. You've got until the 31st of March. March 31st is when this will disappear, and you won't be able to do it again. Now it is PS5 only, so if you're on the PS4 you're not going to get this unfortunately, but hopefully it will come at a later date. Now with this you've got 4 different races to do in the race together mode. Now in each one of those you've got 3 different levels to do plus a 1v1. Now we're not going to look at the 1v1 today, we're just going to leave that aside and we'll get to it as soon as we can. Now before we get into these races, if you are enjoying the content, please do hit that like button and subscribe button, and that will help the channel out massively, and I will try and not nag you again about it until the end of the video. Now in here, as you can see, you've got beginner, intermediate and expert, and we're going to start with the beginner. Now for most people this is probably going to be very easy. You got 4 different colors to think about. You got your violet, your green, your red and your blue. These are the different types of AI. Now the purple one, Violet, she is the quickest of the AIs, so she will start behind you, everyone else will start in front. With the cars itself, the cars are going to be very different each race that you do. So as you can see here, we're started on the sport soft tyres in this car. Now we're going to be using the same car I believe throughout the race 1, but the tyres will be different, so you've got to look for all those different nuances. So the way you drive the first one won't necessarily be the same as you drive the second one. As you can see, we're getting past these AI pretty easy, so they're very low PP, the ones out ahead, or they'll be lower than the car that you have, so you're going to not have a lot of trouble. So as you can see, coming towards the end of lap 1, we're catching up to the leader, and that's going to be pretty much all that's going to happen in this first race. So race 1, the beginner is probably going to be very basic. I mean, some of you may struggle, so I do appreciate that, especially if you're completely new to the game, but as you advance you're going to be getting into the intermediate at the very least pretty quick. So that's us done with that one. Now the payout is not the greatest in this one, they do get better as you go. And as you can see here, we're going to be in the same car, but the tyres have changed to the sports medium. So the way you drive the car now is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to be a bit slower overall. Now these things do have emojis above them, as you might have seen. They can be quite hilarious. You've seen it at the intro to the video. If you do make a mistake, they are going to laugh at you. They do like to troll, but they do get quite angry as well. So it is what it is. It's quite a cool feature. You'll also hear that when you do overtake one of these Sophie AIs, that the applause is going to be coming to you like you've done something miraculous. But Sophie Rouge here is keeping an eye out. She's got a Pantone. I mean, they've just noticed that they got Pantones at the back of their window, so it'd be interesting to know what Pantone they're actually using. But again, race 2, coming to the end of lap 1, she's performed a switcheroo on me. I've never seen an AI on Gran Turismo performing a switcheroo, so they're quite advanced. They are very good to race against. It makes a whole load of difference, and we're going to get close to Sophie Blue pretty much here as we go past the start finish rate this, and that's going to be pretty much it as well in this race here. So the AIs, they look at this. I want to keep this in there because they do make a bit of a defense. It's a little bit more human-like artificial intelligence really, isn't it? But they still make those little mistakes, so they went in for the move and then they went out wide. But that's it for this race here, so that's another P1. And we go into expert. Now you see there the prize money does increase, so it's gone from 10 to 15 to 25 I believe, or 20. Now in this race here we're already on lap 2, but it's not a race that you haven't missed anything. I just want to show you where you can actually start making mistakes. Now we've gone for a quite interesting move here. We're trying to go 3-ish wide, but I've made a mistake and I've gone a little bit deep. If you look at the radar, they are sticking with me, so they're having a little bit of a tangle. But Sophie Violet, which is the fastest one, is right on my tail. So now I've made a big mistake, and this is what I was referring to just not long ago. Look at the laugh and the winks from the AI once I've made that mistake. Now I struggled in this one. I wasn't aware at this point that the tyres were changing. I should have really paid more attention, but that's why I'm making this video for you guys, so you don't have to make that mistake. Now we've then gone into the race proper to see what we can actually do. Now I didn't really want to do these many times, so I was a bit panicking, a little bit anxious that I had to redo that one. But as you can see, Sophie Green's already having a little bit of a look with that little googly eye. Now car's a bit twitchy. I'm looking behind, but I'm trying to be a bit more patient going into here, because I could make that lunge, but I don't want these AIs to be learning from me and making lunges so they do it themselves. But you can see here that they are squeezing, they are fighting these a bit more, and nearly forced me out wide, so I've kind of had to be a little bit more aggressive, which is good. I want to be aggressive, so you get a little bit more of a challenge, and as we get to the end of the lap, we are trying to get close to Sophie Rouge and Sophie Blue, but because we're on a stronger car than what they have, it's pretty much like a hot knife through butter, isn't it? And we just sail through that Abarth 500. It is a Fiat. If some of you might think it's a Ferrari, Fiat do own Ferrari at the end of the day. But lap 2, we've gotten a little bit risky trying to get past the Alfa Mito. They've held their position, their ground, and we've managed to perform a switcheroo. So if they had a bit more power, that actually probably would be quite an interesting move they made. But that's pretty much it for this race. Intermediate, a little bit trickier, not totally, but it is doable, pretty straightforward. Just don't make any mistakes like I did. So that's another win there, and that's 37,500 credits. So that's actually not a bad payout while you're going through this little challenge here. But we're going to go straight into race 2. This one's at Alsace. As you can see, the cars are a little bit more powerful, and the payout is also higher, so you get more money as you go through. We're in the beginner. The cars are on the racing hard tyres, so it's going to be very grippy as we fly past this Lancia Delta. Now, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Lancias because my old man's first car was a Lancia. It was a Lancia Dedra, which is completely different. Actually, not completely different. It's just a saloon version to the Delta. But we've made mincemeat out of the Toyota there, and we're going to catch up pretty quickly to Sophie Blue. And that's pretty much it on this one. They do challenge actually, so they're giving us a little bit of a challenge, but we're through now. And I think with this race here, I think I won it by about 18 seconds, so something ridiculous. It's pretty easy. You've got 2 whole laps of this. This is quite a long lap as well, but that was it for that one. And we're going to be moving on into the intermediate. It's a 30,000. The car's a little bit less powerful this time, less PP on it, and that's probably to do with the tyres. So this is on the sports medium, and this is going to be a lot harder to drive now. So I struggled with this. I had to do a couple of attempts on this one because I was braking too late for these tyres. So I was trying to brake at the same place, and also when you're going through the corners, I was trying to take a bit too much speed, which just wasn't working. But once I got the hang of it, it was pretty straightforward again. As you saw there, we got through the green Lancia, and we're trying to catch up with Sophie Rouge here. They do like to drift a bit, so they do tend to get a bit of a drift on. It's a bit of tyre smoke, and we've just managed to get them on the acceleration. Our car is better on acceleration than these guys in front, but they do have a bit more grip. So I believe they got softer tyres. I believe, don't quote me on that, but yeah, it gives us a little bit of a challenge, and we've just really got to chase up with Sophie Blue now. There's a particular spot on this track where it is very good to overtake, and that's coming up towards the end of the lap, where you wait until you go into the uphill section, and that's your overtaking spot. You don't want to do it any earlier. This corner here is a bit tricky, so just try and let the car roll a little bit more. And this corner here coming up, this is actually a lot of fun. Now, it's one of my favourite corners in the game because you can just roll the car in, and if you look at that camber, it's just keeping you nice and glued. And this is the bit I was telling you about. So you don't really want to overtake into this section here. You want to be a little bit more patient than I was, because the opportunity is going to be at the next corner going up the hill. So you let them get the inside there, have a little bit of a switcheroo, and this is it. This is the corner where you want to overtake, but not like this. This nearly cost me the race. This is on the last lap. I completely missed that out, but last lap I made a mistake, and Sophie Violette is right hot on my tail, so almost side by side, giving me a little bit of a nudge, and you can see the shadow there, but luckily they've managed to have a little bit of an incident themselves, and it's allowed us to get the win on this one. So I made a bit of a hash of that, but again, it should have been a little bit easier than it really was. So, but that's another win in the intermediate. That's 30k there, and now the next one is on 45k. So this is where it actually starts to get a little bit harder. But we make life a little bit easier on this one because I've had a better start going into turn 1 compared to the Lancia, and I've managed to avoid quite a bit of slide, and I've got a nice little run, so that gives me straight a good opportunity to get past them without having to wait too long. And then I've just got to focus about the 2 cars in front. Now we get to Sophie Red or Rouge. Once they're doing their bit, they're Tokyo drifting, and we just get nicer acceleration out of that corner, and that just gives us a nice little run. And as you can see, they're getting a little bit worried, their eyes are popping, and we just coast through and say see you later, Sophie Rouge. And then towards the end of the lap, this is where I wanted to show you in the previous race where there's going to be a good opportunity. It's overtaking spot. Now you want to just be a bit patient to here, get a nice run out of it, and you get this little bit of switcheroo sort of thing and overtake into this section here. It's just perfect. You're going to get a nice run and just be able to pull away from the AI, the next car, the opposition, whoever you want to call it. But going down the hill, also just be careful with this braking spot. Brake a little bit earlier before that inflatable bridge. But as you can see, we got the win on this one, and it weren't as bad as I thought it would be. But I quite do like Alsace, this version, not the reverse version. And then we go into race 3. Now this is my least favorite, one of my least favorite tracks in the game. This car is a handful to drive. I'm not a fan of this one. This caused me a bit of a nightmare, but we got past the first car there. Again, this race here, the beginner one, is on the racing hard, so you're going to get a lot more grip, and it gets worse. Does get worse as you go along, but you just got to be careful really, and just be patient. Just take your time. You're literally just flying past, and we've had a little bit of contact, but that's to be expected there really. And this corner here I absolutely hate, as you can see, it goes straight into the barrier. But because it's the beginner level, we've managed to get away with it, and we've just got to chase down Sophie Blue. The best place for this is this long straight after this section here, and you're just going to power right past them. They got no chance in this one really, once you get past them, and that's pretty much it for the beginner race at Trial Mountain. So pretty straightforward, and we're going to move into the intermediate race. Now you can see the payout's so much higher. The car is now on the sport soft, so you've gone from racing hards to sport soft, so that's a big difference in grip that you're going to have. And one thing I would recommend as well, if you are struggling, is maybe turn on your traction control. As you can see, I've used my counter steer, because it's not really sport mode. You just really want to see what it's like, and I mean, if you are brave enough, do turn it off, but it's there to be used. And personally, I think the counter steer might gain you a little bit of time. It's probably not overall, if you're a good driver, it might not gain you that much time, but as a beginner or as an intermediate driver like myself, it just helps you keep the car under more control. So in that aspect, it gains you time. But as you can see here, I am struggling to get closer to the AIs, and I'm just going to be patient and just wait for this long straight, because this is the opportunity for me to make the overtaking without having to make too many risky moves. That one's pretty straightforward, and we should catch up with Sophie Blue coming up to the end of the straight. Now it's a very long straight, and with these tyres, you just got to remember, brake that a little bit earlier than what you normally would, because otherwise you fly straight in there. And I like to brake around the start of that blue and white curb. And as you can see, P1 by the end of the race, pretty comfortable towards the end. As we're going to go straight into race 3 now, in the expert mode. And the tyres, again, this is now the sports medium. As you can see, I flicked my traction control. I think I did up to 3, because I just wanted to have that extra grip, especially going around this section. It's a lot harder to do, and as you're going to see, I'm going to have a battle on my hands on this one. Now I'm not great at this track, like I said at the beginning, but look at this, I've made a little mistake and Sophie Vert has gone right past me, and it's caused me to actually slow down. And looking at the radar, you've got Sophie Violette right behind, trying to get in on the action here. So luckily I've realised where I've gone wrong in this corner. I just need to take it a little bit easier, but I've still got the 2 AIs stuck behind me, and luckily I've broken away from them, and I can try and focus getting up to the guys up ahead. So again, with this one, I've tried to be a bit more patient and just not make too many risks going into here, and as soon as I can get into this straight is where I'm actually going to be able to get a bit of an advantage time-wise. Now Sophie AI is actually right hot on my tails. I didn't get the best of exits, but they've got a bit of speed on them, and their lap times are pretty strong when you get to this level. But as you can see, catching up to the Reds, Sophie, hitting on the brakes, and they've cut me off. So they've tried to take that corner into the racing line, not realising there's actually someone there. But that's something you've got to think about. That's probably something that would happen in sport mode, so good practice for that. And we've managed to catch up with Sophie Blue by the end of the lap. We're going to use the advantage on the accelerator here to try and get past them and actually try and just be a bit more consistent going into the last lap. But that's something that I wasn't, because as you can see here, I've made a bit of a mistake going into this corner. Surprise, surprise, it's my favourite corner in the game. And Sophie AI is right on my tail, so this put me a bit under a bit of pressure, because I didn't want to have to redo this race again. And I tried to be patient like I always have been, but that's cost me here, because look at this. Sophie is literally cut right through, gained advantage, had a bit of a smile on her face, but luckily it was at a long straight where we can get into that slipstream and take advantage going into the end of the lap. So we've just got to sit in, and the slipstream is pretty decent, but look at that, she's a bit worried, and we've gone deep on the brakes. And what I've tried to do here as well, I've tried to be as close as I could to that corner, but she still came into me. We had a bit of a contact, but that's probably what I needed to just actually be able to get away. Racing incidents, but it's something that probably wouldn't have happened before. And then at the end, just need to keep it on track, and you'll be okay to get the win as well on this one. As we move into end of race 3, we've got a nice little payout there, and we go into race 4. As you can see, the payouts here are a lot better. And one thing I have found, especially here at Suzuka, is the car that you use to start off with, the Mercedes, is a lot harder for me. It might not be for you guys, but even though it's in the racing hards, it's a lot harder for me to control. It's just a car that I struggle with. But Suzuka is one of those tracks that is actually quite fun to drive if you've got the right car. Turn 1, always a bit tricky. The AI do take advantage of your situation. They have a little bit of a giggle. And then you're pretty much stuffed most of the time through this first sector, because it's twisting corners, and there's not really any overtaking spots here. As you can see, I've made another bit of a hash of it, but the AI still not as great, and I've managed to find, invented an opportunity to get past it. Otherwise I would have been stuck, so I wouldn't recommend doing that in sport mode, but for the sake of this, it's okay. Just after the hairpin, we've managed to get a nice run. Again, the power is ridiculous, especially in this lower level. Got past Sophie Rouge, and as we go into Spoon, just got to be careful, because it's a good opportunity here to get a good run onto that back straight, just heading over to 130R. The McLaren is a decent car, but you can see here the closing speed, they're so worried, and they do tend to brake at this level. They will brake at 130R, but look at that, we're just straight through, flying past, and that's the move done. That's pretty much it. That's this race done and dusted with, as we're going to go across the finish line to get that P1. Again, beginner level, pretty easy for most people. 30k, decent payout there, and this one's even better. It's a 45k payout. Now it's a different car. This car I found a lot better to drive. It's on the racing hards as well, but this car going around these bends, absolutely beautiful. I really enjoyed it, and look at this, just glues to the track. We're going to pretty much catch the red one coming up to this section here. Look at this, the closing speeds is ridiculous. But again, this is where you then have to find a passing spot, because it is Suzuka, notoriously hard. But look at this, straight round the outside there to get the inside going into this section, into the Degners. But once you're past Degner 2, you're going to get a nice little run on Sophie Blue. They do have a little bit of a wobble, so maybe a little indecisive of where to go. But as you go into the hairpin, that's pretty much your race done there. Just power straight out, you're good to go, and you're going to be on to the last lap before you know it. crossing that finish line for another P1 and another decent payout. Now, the payouts, I've talked about this quite a few times, and it just 67,500 there for that race for what, maybe a few minutes worth. So that's pretty decent. You can quickly accumulate it just to have a bit of variety. And the last race here is in the Lamborghini, and this car has got a lot less power, so this is going to make for an even more exciting race. Now, going into turn 1, not as easy as before, and I'm going to have to sit behind these guys a fair bit. And I got a little bit tired of it towards the top of the hill. Going into the Degners, I've gone for a very cheeky look into the first Degner here. And I've sent Sophie Green flying into the kitty litter. Oops, don't do that in sport mode. There's no SR here, so you don't need to worry too much about that. But this race is really going to unravel, and as you go into the hairpin, I'm still struggling to get close, and I managed to get close by the time we get onto the back straight. Going up into 130, I'm looking behind, cleared that car there, and just look at the closing speed here between these two cars. The car just grips. This one, ridiculous as well. And as we go into the Casio Triangle, is it the Casio Triangle? I do believe it is. Nice little run out of it, and we're going to make the move before the start finish line. Now, when this happened, I was like, yeah, job done, all good. Sitting in behind, looking back, all good. Sophie's a bit worried, squeezing me a bit. This put me off, so they've actually pushed me to the side of the track, and I've got my braking point wrong. So with that happening, I've lost the space to Sophie Violet and nearly lost it to Sophie Rouge as well. But this did make the race heat up a little bit, and actually made it really exciting. It's probably the best one yet. But as you can see here, I'm going to have to get my elbows out now going forward. Sophie Violet's angry, you can see, and she's going to be even more angry that I squeezed past in that position there. And we're going to go and make the move into Degners, sitting behind, and actually we're going to abort this time because we've learned what happened previously. Sitting in behind again, having another look, and seeing if we can make the move into the hairpin over there. Squeeze us a bit into the grass, but we've got it. We've got the applause. The applause is there. No, but we've lost out again. But because we're on the inside, a bit more applause. But look at this. All 4 cars are trying to fight for the same piece of tarmac, and we've won out on that one there. But it still wasn't plain sailing, because once we got past 130, I made a bit of a hash of it, and that's given opportunity to Sophie Violet here to go on the inside into Casio, and we've managed to squeeze them off, or so we think, and we've managed to look at the queue. And again, going into the final lap, they are charging back through, trying to get close to us, and I've made a mistake again. Look at that, still the time up for the last lap. Got past by 2 cars, but look at that quick reactions. I mean, that's amazing driving there from me. But again, we're stuck behind Sophie. Going into the Degners, I've thought better of it, and tried to wait a little bit longer. I didn't want to do what I did to Sophie Green, even though I may have had to do this again. But looking at a little run in there, they do jink left and right, so that's a very questionable movement there. We might need to take that to the steward's office, but that's what we want to see though, in a way. Not too much of it. Do improve on that, Sophie, but we'll take a run into Spoon, and we're still going to try and find an opportunity to go. So we're trying to go into the section here, but they're not giving us much room. We've had to brake. They're getting angry. They're not a happy bunny there, and I want to try and use the slipstream here to get a run, and this is my opportunity to try and still win this race. So I'm sitting in behind, and I'm going to try and go too wide into 130. I mean, who does that? I have no idea. We've done it. Someone's got to back out. No one did, and sorry. Is that what I need to say? Sorry there, Sophie. But yeah, we're going to finish the race, and we're going to win this one as well. So that's it, guys. That's Sophie AI for you. Very good invention here. I'm hoping they roll this out, because this is going to be revolutionary. Once you get into like all the challenges with this, it'll make the game a lot more fun as well, a lot more challenging. Step in the right direction. Sophie's here. Thumbs up from me, guys. But yeah, if you have enjoyed it, if you have stuck through it with me throughout this whole video, please do hit that like button, and please do hit the subscribe button. And if you want, also check out this video that I'm going to post here on the bottom right of the screen. Do check it out, let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next one. See you later.